Welcome to Raynell.com. I'd like to show you a card today that I made with the Flourishing Phrases. It's a window card, and it looks like it is laser cut. It is also a trifold card. The Flourishing Phrases come with beautiful graphics and a whole host of sentiments for the outside and for the inside. It also comes with the Thinlit dies that cut out the images. We're also going to be using the vertical greetings. This thank you is the one we're going to use. For this card, I have used Island Indigo and a Mosaic Madness leftover piece. What we're going to do is we're going to use the Playful palette for the Mosaic Madness piece and one of our new in colors for our base. So to pick our base card, let's roll the dice. We've got a 4 and a 6, a 5 and a 4. Okay, so our base card will be 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which will be the Dapper Denim. That's pretty close to the Island Indigo. For our number 5 in the Playful palette, let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this will be our number 5 color. But you know what? I may just use the inside of this number 5 piece instead of the outside. I love double-sided paper because it gives us that option. Now for our cut list. You're going to need a little piece of window sheet, approximately 4 1/4 by 4 1/2 inches. You're going to need a 4 by 6 piece of your designer series paper, the Playful palette. You're going to need a 4 1/4 by 9 1/2 inch of and we're using the Dapper Denim. You're going to need a scrap of the Whisper White to stamp your thank you on. So let's get started. The first thing we want to do is to score our card flap for the card base. The first thing we want to do is score our 4 1/4 by 9 1/2, and we want to score that at 4 inches. After scoring, let's round the corners. Next, we're going to score our 4 by 6 designer series paper. Now, what we want to do is we want this to come all the way over to that fold. And yet, we want to back it off just a tiny bit so that the fold will fold completely. So what we're going to do is line it up. We're going to turn it over. And then we will know where to score our line. And you can use either side of this designer series paper. I just chose this one because I like the smaller design. Now we're going to cut our hole in our front of our card. I use Spellbinder's dies, and I use the largest one that I can use, and then we're going to cut it out. Now, using this piece, this is what we're going to cut our Flourishing Phrases image using our Flourishing Phrases die. Now what we want to do is we want to place this on this circle in such a way that it comes off of the circle. Let me zoom in. Okay, now we want to make sure that we can see it cuts it off just a little bit here, it cuts it off just a little bit there, and on the bottom it cuts it off here, but it's still the flourishing phrases will still be one piece. Now, as an interesting note, I have used some Scotch Post-it note to keep this kind of all together. But now I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to place some Glad Press and Seal with the sticky side down. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I am going to want to use this negative that we're going to take off of here. I'm going to try and use that in another card. So I'm going to remove my image without bothering this background. I'm going to fold my press and seal over, and that will protect it until I am ready to use it, and then I will just peel it off the back and glue it, and then stick it to my my card. But this is the image we're going to be working with on our card, and if you'll notice, it fits right in the circle, and that's how it looks like a laser cut card. Now, before we glue this in, we need to cut our window sheet. Okay, now I put a glue dot on the window sheet here, and I put it on the card here and here. So we're going to line it up very carefully. And then we're going to take our corner rounder and round the corners as well. Now to glue our image into the inside of our window, I'm going to use an artist glue pen, but I know that Stampin' Up! Has a new fine-tipped glue pen that will work great in this instance. Now we're simply just going to place it on the inside of the circle, starting from the bottom and aligning the edges. So I won't get fingerprints all over that window sheet. I'm just using the edge of this paper. And there we go. And now we'll let that dry. Now while that is drying, let's go ahead and stamp our thank you from the vertical greetings. I'm going to use the Dapper Denim. That is our base color. I like to stamp my thank you and then do the cutting. Now I think I'll just go ahead and use my glue pen again. I know this is running out and I won't replace it. I will buy one of the new ones from Stampin' Up. I'm going to move that over quite a bit so that I can round the corners. I thought I was going to round the corners on that, but you know, I've kind of changed my mind. I like the looks of it just as a rectangle. Now for the insides, I went ahead and cut a piece that was 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm going to layer that on the inside of where I'm going to stamp my greeting. But first I'm going to round the corners as well. With this Flourishing Phrases, because our front is going to say thank you, I'm going to say words can't express just how deeply your love and support has been appreciated. Again, I'm going to use the Dapper Denim, and I'm going to stamp in the center. Now using the Tombow Mono Multi Glue, I'm going to glue this on the inside. I like the Tombow. It is a liquid glue. It just gives me some wiggle room. And sometimes I need a little wiggle room. In this case, I need a lot of wiggle room. Let's score this score line very well so it stays down. I'm just using my fingernail, but I also use a bone folder. And then we're going to, using the multi-glue, we're going to center that. And we're going to, I say center that. I want the same amount on the edges down here. There we go. See why I chose this smaller print? I think it would work either way, but I thought that maybe this print was a little busy. So now I'm going to take the thank you and I'm going to pop it up with Stampin' Dimensionals. Using this edge piece, I'm going to close my card and I'm going to center that between these two edges and these two edges. It does make a beautiful card. There's another thing I'd like to do, a couple of things actually. I'd like to round these corners on the inside flap. And I'd like to take my white gel pen and do dash lines on the outside, which will just accentuate this portion along the edge. It's like it finishes the edge on this card. And there we have our finished card. Now I'd like to give you a little tip about my cards. I value my cards. I think that they are well worth the art and the time that I put into them. And so I want them to be treated like they are of value. Now I did this on Microsoft Word and I cut it out of a 4 by 8.5 I'm sorry, 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and it made 4 of them. That way I can stamp the inside greeting so that people can see what the insides look like. I take one of the Stampin' Up! Cellophane bags. I put my card in there. I put my envelope, which I normally stamp on my envelopes as well. I put this little piece of paper in the back, and I seal it. Now the reason for this is because I give my cards away, I sell them, they just go to different places, and even if some of my artwork is not all that great and it goes to Salvation Army, Salvation Army will at least be able to sell them because they are protected, and it is well worth the pennies it takes to make a little bag, and so people can see what's on the inside when they purchase this card. Thank you for joining me at Raynell.com today. I hope you enjoyed this card. I know I did.